school, David Bragg. I think the first thing I should do as a form of legal disclosure is explain the hiring interview for Mike Mukai at Chantilly. As we're desperate. The wrestling coach canceled his contract in like the end of September. Wrestling starts November 10th. And they're a little panicked, and I was getting ready to fire the director of student activities there at Chantilly as principal. He was going to retire. We just accelerated it. And we sat in the conference. He said, "Do you know anybody?" And I said, "Well, I happen to know." And I knew Mike was in the area. And I said, "Let me give him a call." And he came in, and he was vintage Mukai in the interview. And we finished, and the director of student activities says, "Do you think he could figure out any of the Virginia High School League rules or anything else like that?" I looked at him and I said, "Jim, he's 3 times as smart as you are. Trust me." And took a team that was 2-9 the year before, and our first year, Mike, 6-5 in the second year, 8-3 in the third year, 10-1, I believe it was, when you're Concord District champion. So I remember some of those little things. Don't know why. That was very kind of you on the introduction. This is kind of unique because you don't look any different. A little more liquored up than I remember you in June of 1989. No, I'm not sure at all. It was McPike that said that. Are you sure? I'll see you after this, Ed, in the hall. And the first thing, when Jason was so kind to write the email and Tram and say, would you be willing to say something? I said, "You guys sat through 8 pep rallies and 16 impact sessions in 4 years." Impact. Of course I can make it up. It makes no difference. It didn't back then. So I do have to say there is some differences. When Mike is correct, I start Tuesday afternoon at TJ, coming out of retired last August, and did a couple of things. Worked for Marymount University for teaching some graduate classes and supervising student teachers, and was just looking for a little something different. And the new principal at TJ, who you would very much like, he is one of you. Evan Glazer is definitely, first of all, he's your age. That's scary enough. And he's not here, he's in Brazil on what I refer to as a junket, and on the Governor Sanford Trail. So we, like I'm not going to do that to him at the first faculty meeting. What's he going to do? Fire me? I don't think so. So it's going to be kind of fun, but he was really upset because the flight arrangements had already been made. He had been on this gig for like 4 months when this all came together, and he knew he wasn't going to be able to be here. So I said that I would malign his character in his absence, talk about that, and but he is very much like you. Very, very much like you guys. That's why I think I was interested in going back. I wouldn't have gone into every place, but I was interested in doing that because you don't realize how unique maybe you were as a group, as a collective. I left in December of '90, and I could already see, working with the new freshman class in '94, the difference that was going to be happening in TJ. And I think you and the class, I've said this many times, you, 90 and 91, were very much an essence and a spirit about, I don't care what it is, I can do it. I don't care. I don't even have to know what it is. I can do it. Okay, I can work together, and there was very little class rivalry stuff, very little strata. You guys just didn't buy into any of that. And I think that was because you were beaten so much about that. I don't know who did that to you, but I'll assume it was Don Weinheimer. Now, if you were Ray, you would... Now, I just want you to know, you're not going to be turned into a bunch of little robots. That's not going to happen here. We're about people. Now, we have a book. Mr. Larson's going to teach you about robots. And now they're just fine. Other than that, that's what it's all about. Now, you be the best you can be. That's all I ask. And I remember him. he left the school system in '88, and he went to Alcoa, Tennessee, and he was the director of curriculum there for, I don't know, I'm looking at my wife, 6, 7 years at least. They retired into that area, and his daughter went to the University of Tennessee down there and is a teacher, I believe, now. So, but when I saw his impact on those things, and Mrs. Dungan, you remember Nancy Dungan? Yeah, you can't miss a Nancy. And she and Joan Lawson. Joan is the one that came up with the acronym IMPACT in a meeting. Interaction for more personal attention and counseling time. What Ed?
I thought you went to a seminar and came back with impact. I was saying today, I'm like, what the?
That was actually, that whole thing came out of work with the department chairs. Mr. Anderson, Ed Anderson, sat there and said, we've got to come up with something catchy or they'll never buy it. I mean, some of these kids I've met are pretty clever. And we were brainstorming and trying to come up with a name, and we had bits and pieces of it, and it was Mrs. Lawson that put it all together and made it into the acronym. And I'm sitting there writing it, and I'm really liking the heck out of this. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and the next thing you know, this parent comes in and says, I need to know what you'll be doing here. And I went, well, I'm the coordinator of student activities. I'll be working with the 8th period program. And she says, no, what will you be doing here? Well, we're working with the activities and athletics program and supervising performing arts and working with getting that the 8th period program, which I said already. She says, but you haven't told me what you'll be doing for my child. And I decided then that was either going to be a long career in education administration or a short one. And I told her I would be here to teach her son personality since he hadn't learned it at home. And it was after that meeting with Mr. Vollrath when he said, Dale, you're going to have to remember they're not all like us. That was more fun than I can remember. And let you know, Mr. Durner, everyone remembers Mr. Durner, had the joy of hiring George Durner after he thought he was done teaching. And I brought him back to South County Secondary, and he taught honors biology and a program we started for moving students into taking AP classes that had never been on the GT track before anything else like that. We had a program called the AP Seminar, where an experienced AP teacher would work with like 35 kids in a group during one period and mentor them essentially, talk to them about what they should be doing, time management skills, working more like an ombudsman, reminding you what some things kicking you in the butt, things like that. And he was brilliant at it and did incredibly well doing that. In fact, he finally just retired. His daughter now, I think, works CNN. She's a reporter for CNN. So they live in the Arlington area here. So